Okay, it's a tight hour. I am literally recording this podcast in between dropping off and picking up my son from track practice. So I've got this limited window where I can get this done, but we're gonna get it done. The silver lining is it's fall. I'm not even kidding, guys. It is officially fall, and I do not care that it's going to be 97 degrees in DFW today. It is officially fall, and it's taking everything in me not to put these pumpkins outside of my porch. That would totally annoy my kids. But it's my favorite season of the year. I'm really excited about the cooler temps and the beautiful fall colors on the leaves. So to celebrate, I am wearing my burnt orange dress with my new burnt orange hair, and let's go at it. Hooray to fall. Okay, so I'm very excited about this episode. I had a subpopulation of people send me some questions anonymously over the past month, and I'm going to be answering some of them today. So welcome to Dr. Tam's Q&A. That's what we're going to be doing today, and I'm really excited. Question number 1. Were there any unexpected benefits that you found in your role as a single mother? I don't know if I would say it's an unexpected benefit or just the way I perceive it. But one thing I can say as far as my perspective shift is that, number 1, I'm proud of myself that I was able to do it and I'm still doing it. And number 2, that when it all falls on you, you're less likely to drop the ball. And here's why I'm saying that. I had this conversation with a newly remarried mother several years ago during my time as an elementary school counselor. And she was apologizing to me for something she forgot. I don't even know the nature of the conversation, but she was apologizing to me for having dropped the ball. And she said, "Miss Lewis, I feel like I'm doing it more now that I've remarried." And when I say I laugh, because I was like, what? She said, yeah, when you divide the responsibilities, sometimes just that failure to communicate clearly, each parent is thinking that the other parent is going to pick up the kids and the kids are left in the front office not picked up. And then homework assignments and who's going to sign the permission slips, all those things you may have just discussed in passing, thinking that the other person is going to take that load on. And next thing you know, the ball was dropped completely. But as a single mother, it all falls on me. So it's kind of easier for me to just know what needs to be done because I'm the only one that can get it done or will get it done. And so it gets done. So I would say that that's the benefit of it. I'm less likely to drop the ball in certain regards because it all comes to me. So it all funnels through me. And let's go ahead and throw that in there. Because there isn't someone else who I can blame when the ball does get dropped, because I'm not going to say I've been able to execute everything perfectly. I will say that that kind of adds in some grace. Sometimes we're very forgiving of ourselves and we're hard on others. But when you're the only person in the equation, then grace becomes a little bit more of your norm because it's like, hey, kids, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. And then you're more apt to forgive them when they mess up because they could point the finger at you very, very strongly. And I don't get to throw anybody under the bus when things don't get done. So because much is given, much is required, I am asking for grace, and it is the expectation that I also render it. So there's a lot more forgiveness that's happening here because it's just me and them, and it's not me versus them. It's me and them. So yeah, next question. Any tips for single mothers who may be struggling to find silver linings in their situations? Yes. The biggest tip would be surround yourself with people, places, and things that have nothing to do with your situation. Sometimes what makes the single mother piece or the single parenting piece hard is because we're constantly reminded of the fact of why we're at home with our kids. And this goes for single dads or grandparents who have inherited their grandchildren due to whatever's going on with the parents. This applies to all of those situations. And sometimes when you're just surrounded by that, people who know you or they know of your situation are going to inquire, how are you doing? And sometimes that's a hard question to ask because what you really want to say is I'm frustrated and I don't want to talk about it. But what I did for myself is I surrounded myself with people who knew nothing about my situation. So you can't ask what you don't know to ask. And so for me, it was really about getting out of the house because much of my time was with my kids. But on weekends that they're with their father, I don't know what to do because now I don't have another adult to kind of just hang out with just in the house and talk to. So I'm literally alone. and I didn't know how to handle that quiet space. So something that I would do is find myself going to Home Depot, Lowe's, and different plant shops. I've always been one that likes DIY projects. I was never necessarily in a position to actually do it myself. There was nothing to do, but just being in that environment, always shopping for new cabinets, new countertops that I know I'm not going to buy, but just the thrill of being in these spaces. It was good for me. So I ended up stumbling across different Saturday classes where you could learn how to do these things. A class about mosaic tile backsplash or floral arrangements or making your plants thrive. I was there. And something as simple as, hey, Tam, you're doing a really good job. Do you do this often? No, this is my first time. Oh, no way, it's my first time too. Now I'm talking to a complete stranger who's not asking me, hey, how are the kids? How are you? But because we're talking about whatever endeavor we are embarking upon, this is good for me because I'm being affirmed in these spaces too. And whether I realized it at the time or not, there is a dopamine rush in knowing that there are a group of people who are expecting to see me and they're happy to see me. And I'm applauded for being there. Like my smile and my presence is enough. And that was the opposite of what I was dealing with in my real life. But I had to realize that this is also my real life. And I am recreating moments like that now because I need that joy. I need that energy. And so that would be my recommendation for other people who are struggling with their transition to single parenthood is to surround yourself with people or with places that are going to build you without breaking down all of the isms that are currently going on in your emotional world. The other thing I would say to do, of course, I'm going to recommend therapy. I'm going to recommend journaling. And I'm also going to recommend, along with journaling, is chronicling the good moments. There were times when, for no reason, life just felt good. And whether it was because of a cup of coffee that I was enjoying or a bill that I just got a zero balance on. Like when I tell you I got a kick out of paying things off, refinancing things, because little bit by little bit, I was discovering that I can actually be okay. It didn't take this two-income household for me to survive. I can actually manage money and manage myself without a companion. And so zero balances made me feel good. And I celebrated them. I honestly did. Sometimes that celebration would be on the weekends when my kids are away. I'm going to the movies and I'm going to go see a movie that I can't take my kids to because it's for grown-ups. And me just being able to watch this rom-com, even though it doesn't resemble anything in my life, it's bringing me joy and a little bit of inspiration because maybe one day I will experience life like that again. So when you're doing things like that, you're actually creating the silver lining. Someone asked me one time in a chat room on Clubhouse, what would be your spiritual gift or what's your special gift? And I really feel like I have this imaginary pen that draws the silver lining around my dark clouds. It's not so much that I'm trying to find the good inside of this horrible situation, but I will go outside of that situation and put myself in a space that can't be bad and let that be the silver lining. So for the fact that I do know how to manage some things in the house, that might not be money that I am making, but it is definitely money that I'm saving, that I did not have to hire somebody to fix my heater. I just figured out the coils that needed to be inside there, broke that bad boy down, and here you go. We've got hot air again. As a single parent, how do you balance self-care while taking care of your children? First of all, who and what is balance? Balance, oh my gosh. That is a word that I don't know that I do very well. But I will say that I am intentional about the self-care. So like, for example, today, in the middle of getting ready to film this episode, I remember I've got to get somebody somewhere. So while this is what I want to do, taking him to track practice is something that I have to do. So I'm insisting that tonight I have some fun. And I don't know what that fun is going to look like. More than likely, it's going to be me back in Fort Worth, just sitting down, watching people, listening to live music. But I'm intentional about making up for that time because I know that a little part of my day was very stressful. So I'm going to make sure I'm good before the day is out. So I can't say that this day was terrible. I am good about that. Another thing that I will say is sometimes I get the feeling that self-care is actually probably easier for me as a single mother than it is for a lot of married people. Because once they have time away from the kids, they're going to opt to spend that with each other. And it might be a little bit of a sensitive topic to tell your spouse, hey, I actually don't want to hang out with you today. I just want to be by myself. Real talk. I remember when I was married, my husband asked me one time, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you be and what would you do? And I said, I would go to the Embassy Suites in Frisco. And he says, no, I mean like a vacation. Like if you could just go anywhere, like Maui, St. Lucia, like money is not an option. You can just do anything. What would you do? Where would you go? And I said, the Embassy Suites in Frisco. And my rationale behind that was, I don't actually want to experience the world far away in some exotic place. I just want to know what it's like to be in Dallas by myself. I just want you and the kids to give me some time to myself because I don't want to deal with anybody. I just want to be alone for a sec. I want to see the swans swimming in that little pond, and I want to enjoy a free breakfast that's included in the hotel fee and not somebody, mommy, can I have some? And not somebody telling me about their week at work. I just want a moment. I just want a moment. And I feel like a lot of couples deal with that. So for me, my question is that for you? How do y'all balance self-care? Because for me, it's actually quite simple. Whenever my kids are busy, I just make it about me. And sometimes it's as simple as getting my nails done. Sometimes it's rewatching episodes of The Office, or it might be going somewhere. Now that my kids are older, I do have a lot more liberty to travel at will. So I can, hey, you know what? I'm going to spend this weekend in Canada. And that's self-care for me. It might not be possible for you, just depending on how things are set up for you. But I will say, as a single parent, be insistent. The balance part, I wouldn't necessarily focus on so much as just making something happen, being intentional about prioritizing your own needs. And whether your self-care effort for the day is to sleep in or your self-care effort is to engage in an activity that you enjoy. And let me put this out there. Sometimes self-care is saying no, not overexerting yourself and overcommitting yourself, because what I do understand is that oftentimes when we accept these invitations, it's at a time where we feel like our availability is there. It's like, oh yeah, I'll accept all these calendar invites because I'm excited about the opportunity to spend this time with other people. But as that event nears and you've got this massive headache or you just don't feel up to it, it's okay to change your mind and say, guys, I can't make it this time. I can make it up to you. Let's figure something out. But the answer is going to have to be no, I cannot come to this and support this and fund this and attend this. And that, my friends, is also self-care. So to answer your question, I would say that taking care of yourself is a personal responsibility. And no, we don't want to do it at the expense of others, but we do want to do it to the benefit of others. When you are your level best, you show up better in the world. And so it is important to prioritize it. And whether or not that looks like balance to someone else is neither here nor there. The point is, you know what you need and how desperately you need it. So make sure that you're not 2 minutes away from burning out when you decide to take a moment to yourself and make sure you're good. So yeah, take care of yourselves. How do you find hope and positivity in today's fast-paced world? You guys, that is becoming increasingly difficult because oftentimes we find ourselves comparing ourselves to other people's timelines. Society has its own expectations, how old you should be by the time you get married, when you should own a home, when you should have children. All of these things have been placed on us. We've been inundated with what looks like success. And because it's a moving target, we feel like a failure. And that is just not true. So my recommendation on how to stay positive, or with this question, how do we find positivity? Listen, what are your personal goals? Okay. I know for myself, one of the goals was just to start the podcast. Where it goes is not even a goal right now. Just doing it, being consistent and having fun with it is the goal. So I'm successful in the fact that I enjoy sitting in this chair behind this mic and talking to you guys and sharing with you all. So that is success. And sometimes we have to really, really, really start small, and maybe it'll get big and maybe it won't. But are you enjoying what you're doing? That's really the key. And is it hurting anybody else? If it's not hurting anybody else and it's actually helping you feel better, then you're doing a great job. But sometimes that's hard to do when you make comparison the thing. So comparison is the thief of joy. And for as long as I'm looking at where someone else is and needing to be there in order to feel like I've done something good, then I'm actually creating the stress that impedes joy. The other thing is demands are demands, and we all have them somewhere. So the day I got to pay my bills, the day I got to get things done for my job, those things aren't going anywhere. So why add stress to myself with things that aren't actually due? So even though the world is fast paced, I can just pace myself. And if I want to do a podcast a week or a podcast a month, that's up to me. I don't have anybody to keep up with. So I would say for that, be open to changing your mind. Sometimes we feel stressed because we feel stuck, and you don't have to feel stuck. It might be your profession that you're changing. It might be your hair color that you're changing. Hello. And it's also okay to change the rate by which you originally planned. Maybe I did give my week to lose X amount of pounds, and I realized that that was increasingly hard and stressful to me, emotionally, psychologically, physically. I can stretch that goal out over 2 months. I sure can. And so just making small changes on a daily basis as opposed to this drastic change because of some dress I'm trying to fit in at the end of the week. Girl, buy that dress in a bigger size and move on. Any tips on how to help young people recognize and embrace the silver linings in their difficult moments? Whew, I can imagine that this question probably came from either an educator or a parent, because our young people are dealing with life much differently than we are. My childhood did not involve the internet, so I was only faced with my immediate vicinities. And if it was me and my brother in an argument, mom could easily step in and make us make up, or, things that are happening in school. All I got to do is change my seats and we're good. But nowadays, kids are dealing with this perception of what perfection looks like because of what's on social media. And you could be doing just fine with the people around you, with your family, with your friends. They could be building your spirit. But because you didn't get as many likes as somebody else, you are now feeling a way about who you are as a person. And so one of the things that I strongly recommend more now than ever before is mentoring, and us older people really just pouring into the lives of these younger people, discipleship, if you will. I feel like a lot of what these young people need is a truth teller. They need something and someone to ground them. So speaking life into them really can do a great deal. I know with my kids, I find myself telling them what I think is amazing about them, and not just things about like aesthetics. You have your great hair. Thank you for cleaning your room, right? But also, like with my oldest, how patient he is and how even-tempered he is. My baby boy, he is hilarious. People just enjoy being around him. My baby girl, my only girl, I find her to be very nurturing for people who have marginalized voices. So our special needs population and children, she's so good with them. So I find myself encouraging those pieces of them, because on a day where they don't feel like they're handsome or pretty, they still know that they're kind and encouraging. And I think that's something that us older people can help our younger people see, is who they are despite what they look like or what they have. Another thing that I would say could help them better recognize and embrace the silver lining is involve them in service projects. When I have taken my children to places where they have to serve, different shelters or initiatives for helping feed families, that has been an eye-opener for them. A lot of kids are not exposed to what life looks like outside of their home, except for the stuff that they see glorified on social media. So when they are given opportunities to serve populations who are living a much different life than them, I think that can help them recognize silver linings as well. You know what? I am grateful for this home that I have, these clothes that I have, this food that I'm able to eat regularly and consistently, because there are people in the world, some of which are also young people, who don't have it this way. And so it kind of opens up their eyes to what parts of the world and what people in the world deal with. And it gives them a little bit of sense of empathy. I think it helps them just see the world differently when they're given enough opportunities to serve the world. Honestly, just give them some opportunities to serve. And hopefully that will inspire gratitude. Are you a dog or a cat person? Honestly, I'm an animal person. I have been known to just rescue strays, right? So I've rescued dogs a number of times. I've had a rabbit. I have a cat. So I actually just like fur babies. I find it fun to be at the zoo. And I like little things. Like I happen to like baby animals for some reason. I'm fixated on them a little bit. So I'm the person who is sitting up watching TikTok and Instagram videos of baby kangaroos and little rabbits and all the stuff at the zoo. Like I have a great time at the zoo. Now let's also limit that to the animals above ground. I'm scared of things under the water. Honestly, I like dolphins, but most things under the water, I'm terrified of starfish. So it's got to have fur and 2, maximum 4 legs. What can I do every day to help with positive thinking? Well, one of the common things that people do is they write affirmations. So I really do believe in writing those affirmations and speaking well of yourself. We're not perfect, but that's not expected. And so releasing yourself of those expectations can just naturally default to a more positive outlook because you're not downing yourself for things that you're not great at. But another thing that I would say I do, I really default to gratitude. What am I grateful for? Because I know what I'm complaining about. It is very easy to complain about things. And honestly, it's okay to complain about things. When things don't feel good, I'm allowed to express that, right? But I don't want to lead this life where I'm constantly complaining because what that means is I'm actively seeking out what's going wrong. So let's do the opposite. What am I grateful for? And I try to find something new to be grateful for. So I'm automatically grateful for life, health, and strength. I'm grateful for a beautiful family. I'm grateful for safety and security. So those things are just the norm. I don't want to take them for granted because they're normal, because sometimes we end up taking people for granted because they're consistently good to us. So I also find ways to intentionally tell people who are good to me, thank you for being good to me. So that's something that I do. Another thing that I want to say is that as I get older, I see how life is changing for a lot of us. I've had friends, like close friends, lose their parents and grandparents. And then I've personally just lost some very close people in my life, deaths that weren't expected. So what I find myself grateful for is time. I'm very intentional about time because I don't know when will be the last time. So because of that, I think what that helps me do is not worry about frivolous things and not pursue frivolous things. Like once I feel like people are wasting my time, I'm kind of done with that. I'm done with that quickly because I value time so much differently. And maybe that comes with age, or maybe that comes with just my personal outlook and experiences in life. But yes, that is something that I do to really force and enhance positivity. Think about time. Think about the time that we have and what we want to do with it, how we want to make the best of it. So things that I could complain about, I'm actually grateful that I have feelings and emotions where I can recognize that this is uncomfortable, but I'm here to recognize it. And sometimes when you just bear it down to that very basic fact that you are still here, that in and of itself is something to be grateful for. And I take that seriously because I've lost some people who I honestly expected to be here. So for the fact that I still am, I definitely don't want to mistreat opportunities. I don't want to mishandle people. I want to make my time valuable and I want it to be fun. I want it to be fun. So that is something that forces positivity. I know that stress will come. I will hate certain days because of all of the things that I have to do or the inconveniences or the interruptions. But at the end of the day, I have time. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm thankful that I did. And I just want to figure out a way to make good of that day. So yeah, that is it, everyone, for this month of September. Thank you for journeying with me when it comes to silver linings. So I am hopeful that you have enjoyed this. And as we move into October, we'll figure out something else to talk about. So thank you guys again for hanging out with me. Enjoy the rest of your week. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I cannot thank you enough for your love and support. Seriously, it means the world to me. So however you are tuning into this podcast, whether it's Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, maybe you're even watching the video version of this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. That way you'll be alerted every time a new episode drops. So again, I want to say thank you for being such an amazing community. We'll see you next time.